Now I'm joined by Theresa Villiers now. She's a Conservative MP for Chipping Barnet, which of course is the neighbouring constituency to Mike Freer. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Theresa. Let's start with that terribly sad news, I believe, of Mike Freer being forced out of politics, ostensibly by the mob and by the threats. And here's an individual, a public servant, a gentleman who's dedicated his life selflessly to others, simply being forced out of the game. And of course, you're in the neighbouring constituency. What are your thoughts on these concerning developments?
It is, as you say, it's just really sad. I'm so fond of Mike. He has been a very good friend of mine over many years, and he has been an outstanding Member of Parliament for Finchley and Golders Green. And it is shocking that this hatred and these threats and these security issues are effectively driving him out of politics. I'm sure he would want to stay if these security concerns had not happened, and I think that's a terrible indictment on our situation.
And Theresa, of course, we've seen a 600 or 700% surge in anti-Semitism since Hamas invaded Israel on October the 7th. And in your part of London, of course, very heavily populated by the Jewish population there. What's the mood on the ground? And is it in some way totemic, Mike, stepping down like this? A sense of fear pervading the area?
I've never known a time when the Jewish community has felt so insecure. And I've lived in North London for much of my life. And I've known the Jewish community well over many years. And this recent increase in anti-Semitism is both frightening and utterly shocking and unacceptable. And I'm afraid it is the case from what Mike has been saying that is part of the threats that were directed against him. It is vitally important that as MPs, we're allowed to speak out on whatever issue we want. Mike, like me, is a good friend of Israel and has spoken out repeatedly in support of Israel. And I think it is massively to be regretted that is contributing to this security situation, which is effectively pushing him out of politics before his time. I think it is completely appalling.
And yet, few could blame him, and narrowly avoided being killed himself, he reckons. Of course, Sir David Amos, Ali Harbi Ali, narrowly avoided him at his own constituency. What can be done about this? Do you think we need to clamp down on this mindset? It's not just the Conservative Party, of course, who are being targeted, but Labour Party MPs are having their officers harangued and harassed and even vandalised by pro-Palestinian protesters. What do we do to stop this?
I think there's a whole range of things, but firstly, I strongly agree that, of course, this is a decision for Mike to make, and I completely respect it. He will be much missed, and he's a sad loss, but he obviously has to do what he and his family feel is right in terms of his own personal safety, and you completely understand why he's done what he's done. You know, we obviously have to look yet again at MP security to try and see what more we can do to safeguard our elected representatives. But also we need a change of tone. The debate on the Middle East, it has become so harsh, and the anti-Israel hatred is something which I believe is completely unjustified and is really having a hugely negative effect on our politics. Of course, there are different views on the situation in the Middle East. Of course, there are concerns about the humanitarian situation in Gaza, but one can express those views and pro-Palestinian views in ways which do not have the sort of hard edge that we've seen at some of these protests, for example, and which do not contribute to this atmosphere of fear and intimidation, which is affecting my Jewish constituents, as well as Mike. And I think it's, we must be able to speak out as democratically elected representatives on the issues that our constituents care about. It's not acceptable that people can be driven out of politics just for speaking up for Israel.
Absolutely. Theresa Villiers, thank you so much for joining us, Conservative MP for Chipping Barnet. And of course, a neighbouring constituency and a friend of Mike Freer. And, you know, sometimes it just feels like the mob is winning.